So just transition basically means granting the social aspect of the green transition the consideration that they deserve. The people who work in polluting industries and the regions that rely on these industries economically, they should be helped and rather than seen as expendable for the green cause. In some cases, this means reskilling and upskilling to meet the demand of a decarbonizing and greening economy on the labor market, and in other cases this means adjusting, supporting schemes, financial or otherwise, to make sure that these people are not left behind. This is very much the case in the cement industry, for example, where we are advocating for CCS, for a CO2 infrastructure to be implemented in order to allow the industry to decarbonize, to essentially survive in a decarbonizing world. This is also really important from a public perception perspective, because we need public support in order to be able to put into place the green measures that will allow us to decarbonize at the pace needed. We won't be able to do this if we don't have public support, which we will only get if everyone feels on board and no one feels left behind. So there's a few ways in which green transition can be achieved in that way. I think it is really important to prioritize equity and fairness, and not just because it's the right thing to do, but also because if people are left behind and lose their livelihoods as a result of the green transition, they will not support greening measures, and this will hinder our efforts to decarbonize at the pace necessary. So at the EU level, there is the Just Transition mechanism that ensures targeted support for communities that are disproportionately affected by the green transition in Europe. And there is the Just Transition platform working groups work that outline and define how and where these communities can be helped. It is really important that that they are included in the conversation and that their voices are heard when doing such work. At Bellona, we are part of the working group on cement, for which CCS is a key technology, and deploying CO2 transport and storage infrastructure will enable and de-risk the installation of CO2 capture facilities on cement plants. This will help deal with 60% of emissions in the industry, and as a result will help the cement production survive in Europe and all the jobs that depend on this industry and all the economic benefits it brings to the regions where they operate. What is important here is that risks and benefits related to CCS projects are communicated clearly to the public, and not just that, but also the ways in which these risks can be managed and overcome over time. And what is also important, that this communication is done by a messenger that is trusted in that community. In some cases this is local government, but in other regions it can be a different CCS actor. There are a few other aspects that also influence public perception of CCS that can be unique to that region. For example, past experience with infrastructure projects in the area, or industry's presence in that region, and how much the economy relies on the presence of that industry in that region. And having awareness and understanding of these aspects can then help us to better formulate communication strategies that work. CCS is a key technology to decarbonize harder to abate industries, and with a decreasing carbon budget, there's a larger and larger incentive to reach net zero as soon as possible. And harder to abate industries are starting to realize that they need CCS to decarbonize, and they rely on CCS for survival. And as an extension, the communities that rely on these industries need CCS for survival as well. So this should be communicated clearly to the public alongside with the risks and how they will be overcome. And this communication needs to be done in the planning phase of CCS projects as soon as possible, because with the time scale that we have and with the timeline that we have and the scale of deployment that we need to reach, we just simply cannot afford to have failed CCS projects, because they simply didn't have the necessary engagement with the communities that they impact.